charging up the hill, this Wonder Horse. They're coming to the final fence now. He needs the jump of his life. He's over safely, but he's coming up to the line. He's done it on the dirt on the ground. Red Rum is going to win the national.
Good morning, everyone. Ahead of our first opening show of the new year, we were greeted with a super moon over Sandown, and we woke up also to super news, because after extensive work from Andrew Cooper and his ground staff, I am delighted to say that Sandown Park has survived the inspection. Lots of frost covers, as you can see behind me, have been placed. The team working hard still. They've been working hard last night, through the night, and into the early hours of this morning. I'm delighted to say that Andrew Cooper is alongside me. You might be able to hear the frost covers doing their job. Very frosty, very cold morning, but great news, Andrew. Well done.
Thanks, Ollie. I mean, we've still got to get these off and whatever, and not have any sort of unforeseen consequences behind them. But
is there a concern that could happen?
Well, there are sort of unknowns a little bit with these. You know, every scenario you use them is different. The ground underneath them, first thing, was absolutely fine, but it's a big, got to move 270 odd covers. At this part of the course in front of the stands, this is the sort of frozen sleet from yesterday morning. This is only in this area. The covers are better sort of exposed in other places. So yeah, we've got a big morning's work to get rid of these, and hopefully it'll be okay.
You know, when you get your sort of annual diary, that this fixture is always going to be a little bit troublesome, isn't it? Last year we lost it, didn't we? And just given the weather at this time of year, it always presents certain challenges.
It does. Then it sometimes has a good run of, sort of better weather, really. I mean, it's remarkable how often the sort of into Christmas period seems good and mild nowadays, and then suddenly again this first week of January and it turns. But we lost this for waterlogging 2 years ago, so it's
tested you.
Tested us.
Happy New Year. I can see on your jacket you've got the Derby written on there. It's a big year for the Derby, isn't it?
Big year for the Betfred Derby and Epsom, and we're hugely looking forward to it. All the stuff we announced before Christmas. Really good, exciting year.
Well, on behalf of all of us racing fans, thank you for all the work you've done in allowing this meeting to be on. We're looking forward to it, and I'll let you crack on lifting the covers off the track.
Thanks. All help received.
Well, we'll dig in a minute. Whilst I get my hands dirty and help Andrew and his team, here's a look at what's coming your way on ITV in January.
Happy New Year, everyone at home.
The racing on offer is phenomenal.
Fasten your seatbelt. This is a blockbuster.
Wishing and hoping the gap is reducing, but wishing and hoping will win the veterans.
They're off.
We have some seriously competitive racing coming your way.
Max Vega wins again.
You've got to love racing.
Quality throughout.
My silver lining, Galliard to the toe. Time is running out. My silver lining will win the classic chase.
Big names ready for action.
He's an emphatic winner. What a wonderful chaser he is. Protectorat.
At the last, John will win for a really long one and delivered in the Clarence House. Constitution, he'll stretch for it. Heart in the mouth moment. Breezing home now.
Handstands picking up the best. Django Bay is coming back with one last lunge. It's desperately close. Handstands.
Everyone wants to start the year by backing a winner.
Well done, Dave. Well done, mate.
A busy month coming our way, your way, here on ITV, kicking off what is another huge year of quality racing throughout 2026. We start with 4 races from here at Sandown Park, and hopefully 3 races from Wincanton, where there is a 10:15 inspection this morning. So we will give you news of the outcome of that here on the opening show. That is, as I say, coming up at 10:15. But Sandown goes ahead. There is one non-runner at Sandown. Hurricane Bay is out of the 150. The sun is hopefully warming Sandown up and warming the team that are lifting the frost covers off the track, as we heard from Andrew Cooper a moment ago. Happy New Year, everyone. For the first time, we are being broadcast live on YouTube. So welcome to our YouTube audience, including Todd Brooks, who has already said that he is very excited for 2026, as we all are, and kicking it off today with Sandown and fingers crossed, hopefully, Wincanton. But we will hopefully be on YouTube every Saturday, along with us, regular slots on ITV4 and ITVX. Alongside me, kicking off the new year, Tom Scudamore and Richard Hoyles. Good morning and Happy New Year, gentlemen. Sadly, we've got some very sad news to kick off today's programme with, and that is the news we learnt yesterday of the passing of Ian Balding, father of Andrew and broadcaster Claire, and legendary trainer who won a host of huge races, including the Derby with Millreef. And this was just one of a number of brilliant horses, Richard, that Ian Balding trained.
Yes, I mean, for me, I was sort of the Selkirk era, and Tom will remember a few of the jumpers that he had as well. I think also what can get lost in admiring all of his racing achievements, and there were many, was he seemed a bit of a throwback to that sort of Corinthian era of Compton and people who transcended more than one sport, because you were telling me, actually, that he was a very, very good rugby player in his own right as well.
Yeah, he was. He was a Cambridge Blue. He won the 1961 varsity match, played with internationals there, and went on to be an extraordinary trainer. You know, not just winning the Derby, had a Cheltenham Festival winner as well, an exquisite horseman. I think at the age of 46, he rode in the Fox Hunters in 1985. So, you talk about lives well lived. Well, Ian Balding certainly did that.
And we know the sort of dynasty that he's left on the sport with Andrew and Claire and his grandchildren, and I think indeed one of his grandchildren may very well be heading to play rugby for England. But here we see Ian with his grandchildren that Park House put on their Instagram yesterday. You know, the Balding dynasty is a dynasty synonymous with horse racing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, ever since I've been involved in racing, there has been a Balding on the licence, whether it was Toby, Ian, Andrew. You know, and that's one of the great. Same way colours work their way through. Those Millreef colours, I think, were bequeathed to the Baldings, and they still occur often at quite low-grade races, but your heart just smiles when you see them. So, yeah, obviously, lots of condolences, but I think you hit it on the nail, to be honest, Tom. When you look back, you can be pretty proud of what you managed to achieve over that lifetime, and lots of happy memories as well as the current sad ones for all his friends and family, I think. Yeah,
obviously a very sad time, but a life well lived, as Tom said. And Claire Balding put on her Instagram yesterday, "My dad was one of a kind, fearless, funny and charming. He shared with me his passion for sport and taught me to be brave enough to chase a dream." That's Ian Balding, who sadly passed away yesterday at the age of 87. On we go with today's opening show, and hopefully some winners to be found for you to kick off the new year with. And the first race we're going to take a look at is coming up from here at Sandown Park. It's coming up at 3:05, the Unibet Veterans Handicap Chase over 3 miles, where Nocte Velatus is the 4-1 market leader, from Gustavian at 9-2, Credo 5-1, Lamilos 11-2, and Sam 15-2, 11-1 and bigger the rest. And we have a pundit pointer, and it is Tom Scudamore's fancy in this race, who is
Gustavian. Very good winner in the Badger Beer at Wincanton a couple of months ago under today's pilot Rex Dingle. Sometimes he has in the past had his odd jumping issue. Indeed, he has had issues around Sandown. He got no further than the second fence the last time he was here. But as I say, with age has come hopefully a little bit of sensibility as well, and that was certainly the case at Wincanton. He's off an £8 higher mark today, but as this is a veterans race, he's taking on older horses in this respect, and yet he was still good enough to give the younger ones weight and a beating around Wincanton last time, and that all bodes extremely well for this afternoon.
My slight concern with him is the jumping frailties that we've seen in the past. I think the Badger Beers, as we've seen in recent years, has suited front runners who get into a rhythm, and he got into a brilliant rhythm under Rex Dingle that day. It's just consistency of getting in that rhythm and whether he can do the same thing here today.
Yeah, but you'd be hoping that he's learnt the art of survival. And it's not pretty at times, but it's certainly effective. And if Rex, in a small field as well, generally this is a big competitive field. It's a bit smaller than in usual years gone by, and you're going to know your fate early on. But if Rex and Gustavian get in the same rhythm around Sandown as they did around Wincanton, there's going to be a formidable task in front.
Final question before we get your selections, Richard. But how much harder is it to get into a rhythm at Sandown than it is at Wincanton, if at all?
It's a different track. Obviously, they're both right-handed, but the undulations here and the way the fences come up thick and fast, especially those railway fences. I suppose in the past you could say that he can be a little bit ignorant of his fences. He finds it hard to shorten up. But I say he's had plenty of practice now, and he seems to have found a way to survive. He finds a leg. Might not be pretty at times, but it's effective.
OK, thank you for waiting patiently in the
That's
wings.
all right. I'm more than happy.
The floor is now yours. Who's your fantasy?
Well, just on the point that Tom makes, I think Ansam is actually quite an interesting runner, not necessarily for his own right, but whether he stops Gustavian getting into that unpestered rhythm. Because, I mean, we should also point out that we're quick to criticise things within racing, but these Veterans series since it's been introduced has really been a great success and provides a centrepiece with the absence of the tolls, which we wouldn't otherwise have. So, plenty of familiar names for people who want to bet at home today, which is really nice. From a betting point of view today, at the moment, Dan Skelton has ringed every major pot in the calendar as he tries to repel Willie Mullins before Willie sort of gets off the starting blocks. And I'm sure Lemilos has had this in mind for a while. He won off this mark at Fakenham in what's a little bit of a non-event. But the good thing was he only went up £3 and he's back to the same mark. So I think they've had this in mind for him for quite a while.
He was a bit disappointing last time, though, wasn't
yeah,
he?
But so was Nurse Susan when that one just bolted up the following time.
True.
You know, I think he's a target trainer. Look, let's look at the history of the county hurdle. Let's look at, you know, Langer Dan and all of those. I think this might be the race that Lemilos has had. Whether he's good enough at the age of 11 to be a target horse, I'm not really sure. But remember, he ran really, really well in a Bet365 here, when much higher mark in his youth. So he's proven round here. I'd be prepared to give him a chance on that ground. But it may be, this is the problem, some of them are comparatively lightly raced at their age of 11. Some of them have been through the mill too many times, and sometimes it's not easy to find out which is which.
The current favourite is the Tom Lacey trained Nocte Velatis, and after what was a pretty troublesome start to the campaign 12 months ago for Tom Lacey, he's had a really good start to the season this time round.
Yeah, he certainly has. Look, he's a top quality trainer and he's proven that over the years. This was a good performance around Warwick, where he's finished in front of Torn and Frayed this day under Stan Shepherd. Let's say, look, he's a worthy favourite. He's sort of thrived since he's gone into this sort of grade up against the older horses. As Richard alluded to earlier, it gives some of these horses a new lease of life. It certainly seemed the way with Nocte Velatis, and once horses start to win, get back into that winning habit, it's a wonderful habit to be in.
I mean, he's relatively unexposed at 3 miles. The thing for him, and to some extent is Gustavian, is if you look at the profile of their handicap marks, they're just about as high as they have been in recent years off the back of wins. That's the difference with Lemilos, who's actually still significantly lower than his heyday. And you might be asking a bit for those that are 11 and 12 to suddenly produce career bests.
But isn't it a great credit to the trainers and, well, mainly the horses, really, that they're able to maintain that level of form in their sort of later years as a racehorse? And you're right about the series. I mean, 52 grand near enough to the winner of this. You know, these are horses that we've known and loved for a number of years, and it's a great offering for horses to continue to perform at a good level.
Yeah, I mean, every trainer, really, that's worth their salt goes through the programme book and identifies a race for a horse. And you know, I think Lemilos qualified the very, very first qualifier for this current year. And, yeah, I think from that moment, this was the plan. Yeah. And I'm sure other trainers would have had the same. But the nice thing is that it's actually a sort of nice little niche that you can identify as being different from the run-of-the-mill races we have day in, day out.
Yeah, look, life and racing is all about opportunity and incentive. And this is one of the occasions where racing has got it right. It's given that opportunity and incentive with really good prize money to keep seeing these wonderful horses coming back year after year.
Well said. OK, time for our first breather of the morning. Let's just confirm the selections for Tom and Richard. Tom is with Gustavian and Richard is with Lemilos. As I say, let's take a quick breather on this morning's opening show, but don't go anywhere because plenty more coming your way, both here at Sandown and hopefully with regards to the racing at Wincanton. Well done to Andrew Cooper and his team, who are currently, as you can see, they're lifting the frost covers off. It's a hell of a job, and it's currently underway. Not quite as quick as that, we've sped that one up. But anyway, plenty more coming your way, including a look ahead to Friday Night Live next up with Dom Matcham.
some seriously competitive racing coming your way.
Oh, it's close. Here we go. Momaya's got there. Max Vega wins again.
Delighted to say the next Friday is the first of our Friday Night Live race nights. It starts Friday the 9th of January from Wolverhampton, 5:15 on ITV4 and ITVX. Meg Nichols will be guiding you through the action. And it is the brainchild of Invades, who's run by Dom Matcham, who I'm delighted to say joins us on the line now. ARC, a big part of it, teaming up with ITV Racing as well. We're really looking forward to bringing it to you. It starts on Friday, and Dom can tell us what we can expect. What can we look forward to, Dom?
Thanks, Ollie, for the introduction. So Friday Night Live is all about bringing a new audience into racing. I think it's showcasing racing in potentially a different light that has ever been done before. There's probably four key parts of the event for us. There's obviously the transportation. So we'll be bringing lots of young fans, new fans in from universities across the country. We've obviously got the racing on the track, which is very high quality, and at night I think showcases the sport in a completely different way. Certainly most new fans will probably associate horse racing with being a daytime event, so I think the under the lights element is quite exciting. We've then got DJs between the races, which is obviously sort of a staple for Invades. It's about bringing that dance music culture and sort of party-like atmosphere into the sport, and I know for some people that's not what they're after, but for a lot of young people that element is an attraction if they potentially wouldn't consider horse racing as their primary sport. We're also bringing elements of dating into the broadcast. So Invades has been running sort of speed dating and really using racing as the connection between people. So on our TikTok, I think we've got over 30 million views on a number of episodes which have been shot at places like Uttoxeter, Cheltenham, Ascot, and where's the other one? Chepstow. And this format is quite new in the sense we find someone who's single, we ask them what their type is, we then go out into the crowd, sort of harking back to John McKirrick style, really going to the fans in their environment. We find someone who is suitable for the match, and then between races we put them on speed dates, giving them questions. So we're really excited to bring a format that is already very successful on social media into sort of a more terrestrial space. And I do think racing and romance is quite an undiscovered and untapped area, really.
There will be people listening to this, though, and you mentioned dance, music, culture, party atmosphere, elements of dating. Well, look, we understand that the dating happens, and it is, as you say, that kind of content is popular on social media. But there'll be lots of people watching this over their breakfast, spitting out their coffee, going, "We don't want that on the racecourse." What would you say to them?
What would I say to that? I think it's important that the sport welcomes in new people, and bringing these elements into the sport does attract a new customer. And ultimately, bringing a new customer into the sport is good for everyone. And that's what we're about. We're not looking to alienate people. We're not looking to create divides. And if you're on a racecourse on Friday Night Live, you probably, unless you're getting involved in these segments, you wouldn't even know it's there. So I would try and say, this isn't about creating a division between old fans and new fans. Like, we're all here for the sport of horse racing, and I think there's enough of that in racing. There's enough of, certainly when there's a new initiative, I think people should be more welcoming of it.
And look, I understand that, and I understand trying things different and freshening things up occasionally. And look, this is only a run of 6, I think, isn't it? Six race meetings. But not every race meeting these young fans go to will have a DJ in between races and a speed dating service amongst all the other things that are happening. So how do you make sure that the audience you're bringing as new fans to the racing remain racing fans at more traditional events, would you say?
At the minute, it's very difficult to prove, but we're seeing, I think if you look at the stats that are coming through from different courses, like Cheltenham had a bumper crowd, Royal Ascot this year was well up. I speak to people at Cheltenham who run the Young Members Programme, and the majority of them, their first time racing was with Invade. So we're starting to hear these stories of people coming with us, falling in love with the sport, and then returning as a say more traditional fan. But our involvement and doing these activations there is only a benefit to them. And yeah, like I say, we're looking to we don't want divisions between fans. We want everyone to enjoy the sport altogether.
Which is very admirable. And therefore, given the success we've seen on Invade's race days, I mean, there was one at Cheltenham, wasn't there, in November? I mean, we've seen Invade's race days prove really popular, and you're obviously allowing students to come racing at a reduced cost, etc. And there's significant advantages of coming racing through in Invades. But what is it, do you think, when you speak to your customer base, that is appealing to them, you know, the sport of horse racing? What is it about racing that is appealing to them, would you say?
I think it's the ability to get dressed up, and sort of the fourth element of Friday Night Live, which we're looking to highlight, is also the fashion side of racing. I know a lot of racecourses have taken off dress codes. I think if you look at our events, you look at our customer base, our content on socials, there is a definite theme of how people are dressing, and they are dressing up. They're putting suits on, putting ties on. They want to look the part. So I think there's that element, and having a day out with your mates. I think if you look at the nightlife sector and the nightlife industry, that's certainly in decline. But people are still wanting to go out and have fun. And for us, horse racing is all about the fun. You don't need to be an expert. Everyone can enjoy it. And I think in Friday Night Live, we are really showcasing the sport in a different way. You know, it might not work, it might go really well, but we're really confident and we're really proud to be part of it.
This is the time of year where people are doing New Year's resolutions and asking about changes for racing. So the final question I'd ask you, Dom, as someone who engages regularly with students through Invades, etc., what do you think would be the one message you have for racing looking ahead to the new year as a way, and what we should all do to really capture that new fan base?
Embrace it. Anyone who comes onto a racecourse is a positive for the sport. And I really think that if racing is to survive in the form in which it's in, I think everyone needs to be more welcoming and not look to create divisions between people. Like if a young person is coming onto a racecourse, we should celebrate that and we should give them the best possible time. And I think and the vast majority of the people we see, talk to, and interact with our brand and our customers are like, this is great, we absolutely love it. And I think if it wasn't positive, why would so many of the most important organizations within the sport want to work with us? That would be my questions to people. And I think certainly across social media, people are more people who want to be more vocal and more negative are than the people who are happy. So yeah, I know there are people who potentially don't like what we do, but the vast majority, I think it's a very small percentage. And if you truly, you know, care for horse racing and like the sport and want to see it prosper, you're only going to, you know, enjoy what Invades does and see us as a positive.
Dom, thank you so much for joining us. It looks like you're away at some ungodly hour, so we really appreciate you joining us and taking the time to speak to us here on the opening show. Happy New Year and good luck next Friday.
Thank you so much, guys. Cheers, Ollie. Nice to see you.
Dom Matcham there from Invades. What is your reaction to what he was saying there, Richard?
I'm married. Oh, so that aspect of it doesn't... I wouldn't get very far in that. But, look, I think the embracing side is important. I think there was a lot of cynicism when these started, and they were sort of kept separate, almost like pariahs. I think racecourses and racing generally needs to understand that we have lots of wider battles at the moment, one of which is to do with the social acceptability of betting. And if you can get a generation that come to the racecourse, act relatively responsibly in what they drink and what they bet, and just have fun, maybe we can replace some of this rather bizarre view that betting is one of the 7 deadly sins. Everyone has to take personal responsibility, not trying to minimise some of the impacts it can have. But I genuinely think that racing can be a lot better at opening its footprint, widening where people can go, and part of that is the youngsters. Those crowds we've had between Christmas and New Year, a much younger demographic than I've seen, and whether that be some of the initiatives paying off, I don't know, but it was really good to see, Tom.
we've spoken, haven't we, in the past about how racing is almost, as soon as anything is mentioned, there's a kind of instant stop reaction of this is awful, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I think people need to be reminded, and if they're not already, we touched on it there. This is only 6 weeks of the year. We talk about how much racing there is and it's a congested fixture list. Why not see how this goes before jumping to... Because I can imagine that reaction, that interview will get, as Dom says, a few disapproving tweets out there. Let's see how it goes and then react accordingly after the event.
Absolutely, and just picking up on Richard's point there, you know, I've been there when Invades Racing's been going on when it first started. The crowds they were getting at Exeter to begin with and so on and so forth was absolutely fantastic. And just getting the young people interested in the sport, come and have a bet, come and have a drink, come and see the horses, enjoy yourselves, have a great day. Look, I've got teenage children growing up, and suddenly racing for them, you know, universities, etc., has become really cool. The effort to go and dress up, go and do it responsibly, have a good time, and they come back. Look, it's anecdotal, but of the 44,000 people at Cheltenham on New Year's Day, the numbers of the young people there making an effort, dressing up, I just thought was so refreshing, and it was a fantastic day.
And you do hope they come back racing as well.
I mean, we need to make the horse the part of it. You know, it's great they come and cheer and everyone said, oh, they're cheering too much in circuit earlier, they don't understand. Just enjoying seeing the horses. Get them in the paddock, get people to see the horses, get them past them on the way down towards the start, don't rush them off. But also, from a punting perspective, you look at those cards on Friday night. They're all 15 grand plus races. They will all fill. They will be good competitive handicaps. So even if you're sitting at home just watching, you're going to have some good fare to punt on, far better than you would do on a normal Friday evening.
And no disrespect to the new fan, but they wouldn't really care whether it was a Class 4 handicap or a Class 2 handicap. You know,
not at this
not in the early stage.
And that's the point.
If it's a competitive race, they can have a bet on with their mates responsibly. It doesn't. I don't think it really matters whether it's a Group 3 or.
I need to remind you of the course. So I did the Invades Day at Exeter, where the first race of the day was won by a horse called Absolute Steel at 200 to 1. It cost the Tote, who guarantee, obviously, the SP, their second ever biggest payout, and they had to escort across the racecourse a gentleman with lots of cash, because Absolute Steel obviously had a nice name, who cares, 200 to 1, £20 each way. One student there must have been very, very popular, because he literally cleared out the entire
needed a speed dating service afterwards.
£4 grand. You know, and he'll remember that day, and so will his mates around it. I know it's a fluke. I know he chose the name probably on the name, but it doesn't matter. That's a memorable race day experience, and memorable race day experience, we see good horses earn some money, is what got us all involved in the beginning.
OK, thank you for your thoughts on that. Let's get back to finding winners today. And the next race we're going to take a look at is the 225. And this race sees Jubilee Alpha head the betting at 11 to 10. She's top on the ratings. Nurse sees Susan 100 to 30. Sunset Marquesa and Napple Dumos 11 to 2, 16 to 1, and bigger the rest. Let's have a look at Nurse Susan and Jubilee Alpha in action. Nurse Susan was victorious this day and well backed beforehand, as if this was very much expected, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. She travelled through the race particularly well. Jubilee Alpha travelled through the race well too, but didn't jump nearly as fluently as Nurse Susan. And with Jubilee Alpha, Richard, it was something, the way she's finished off a race again, she made a bad mistake the race before at Wincanton at the second last. That would be, you know, even though she's top of the ratings, the way she's currently seeing out her races would cause concern for me, especially at a stiff track like Sandown.
Yeah, I think you and I come at this race from similar viewpoints, in the sense that the horse is much better off. It's not a handicap, it's a listed race. Horse has won 2 listed races in the past. But Jubilee Alpha is a very hard puller. You've got no option but to drop her out, and that will put pressure on her jumping over the last 2, because as a result, that's when she's making ground. It let her down at Wincanton. To some extent, she didn't find what I expected that day at Cheltenham. Up this hill, short price. I know the weights are very much in her favour. She could dot up. But I think you and I are both on the same wavelength. There's a horse who's not the most consistent, but has been up the Sandown hill and actually has got reasonable form in graded company.
Absolutely, and that graded course as well. Fairy House, which is grade 1 form, right-handed, stiff track. You know, I think she's one that's bubbling under. Say she wouldn't be the most consistent, but her form, when she gets the conditions right on the courses that she seems to enjoy, is top class and is there to be seen.
You've picked out a race.
Her name is That'll Do Moss.
Yeah, so we should reveal which horse.
That's right. What I wanted to do was look back to this is a grade 2 Jane Seymour behind Hollygrove Cha-Cha, because she will get up the hill if she's on a going day. And this was a grade 2 contest. It's funny, Sandown races are often, you finish very, very tired. And a lot of horses are well there at the bottom of the hill, don't get up the hill. That's my concern for Jubilee Alpha is, will she really fully get up the hill? And just the respective prices. That'll do Moss did get up the hill this day, and Hollygrove Chachas turned out to be a reasonable chase this.
There's actually not much on the figures between Jubilee Alpha and
no, because of that grade one form. It's one is inconsistent, and the other one, I don't know. You look at favourites saying at short price and you try and find reasons to take them on, and there were some, I thought.
Yeah, and she just doesn't seem to be finishing off her races like she was last year. And again, when she's got form with the others, with the similar horses on it, it's round Taunton, places like those sharp, easier tracks where she generally seems to thrive on.
I mean, she's well in terms of, there's a great bit of placing, but I don't know. If you're punting, it was 11 to 10 versus 5 to 1 when I last looked.
Timeform's view of the race is that Jubilee Alpha comes out on top, and quite emphatically from Nurse Susan, and that'll do Moss. I will reveal, and sorry for ruining the surprise, everyone, but I am in the Jubilee Alpha camp in my £20 challenge today, just because of the terms that they race on today, basically. But I do understand absolutely everything you're saying. We will find out later on at 2:25 who is correct. Right, let's just bring you up to speed with a bit of a weather watch here on the opening show, because there's plenty of meetings and plenty of issues with the weather. Sandown goes ahead. The frost covers are being lifted off the track as we speak. Wincanton's inspection is at 10:15, so in about 10 minutes' time. Lingfield Park is on the all-weather, so that's fine. 8 races starting at 11:40. Newcastle is abandoned, sadly. We've got all-weather racing at Southall, Cork in Ireland, 12:35 till 3:57, and that is on, which is good news. So that's the racing today. Tomorrow, Chepstow, if you're planning on going racing at Chepstow, there's a midday inspection today, so keep your eyes peeled for information on that. 1 p.m. inspection for Plumpton tomorrow. That's a 1 p.m. inspection today for Plumpton tomorrow. Sussex National Day there. Southall and Naas in Ireland at the moment, all fine. So there we go. I think I've confused myself with all that, but if you can read, then you can work it all out. But there we go. That is the news on what's going on up and down the land with regards to the meetings this weekend. Let's take a quick breather here on the opening show. When we return, we will get the thoughts of Tipping Tom. But before that, the latest instalment of Racetracks.
One man with 2 fences between him and victory in the King George Triple Bridge Chase. Come down towards the second last, and one man, Barton Bank, has been pulled up. One man has it. He's gone 10-12 clear of Mission of Fury in second. Master Oak plugging on well in third. Then Verda Lane. Merry Gale has been pulled up. This is the final fence, and it's one man comes to it, and he is spring-heeled. And it's Richard Dunwoody driving home clear. On one man going to land his 13th win. Another improving grey horse. He's come from the north to conquer. Despite those fitness doubts, one man is going to raise the roof and take the King George Triple Bridge Chase.
If you want to be my lover.
Welcome back to the opening show. There's £50,000 up for grabs in today's ITV7. That'll be a great start to 2026. If you can land the ITV7 jackpot with us, pick your winners at itv.com/racing or the ITV Racing app. You can scan the QR code you can see on your screen there. The 7 races we're asking you to find the winners from are as follows. There's 4 from Sandown, 1 from Cork, and 2 from Lingfield Park as well. So best of luck if you're getting involved. We have someone on standby who might be able to help you find a winner.
Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
And Tom Collins is on the line now. Good morning, TC. Happy New Year. What have you got for us to kick off 2026?
Good morning, Ollie. Happy New Year to you and everyone at home as well. Yeah, I've only got one selection today. I have to say, sometimes in punting, minimalism is the way forward. You have to pick your battles. And personally today, just one battle, and that goes at Sandown, the 305, the Veterans 3-mile chase. And I'm going to take Credo in here. Now, obviously, this race features a couple of horses that I've tipped in the past on tipping, Tom, including Gustavian, as we can see in the Badger Beers when he was successful off the front. And Credo was further back in third. However, I think maybe there'll be a form reversal today at Sandown. He's well weighted, he gets £4 off Gustavian, and crucially, Ollie, he gets the visor refitted today. 2 out of 4 in this headgear. I'm slightly concerned about the ground for him. He probably wants it a little bit softer than the good currently listed, but he's going to be plugging on at the end, and maybe this has been the target for him.
And that race, the Badger Beers, does suit front runners. So Gustavian got into such a lovely rhythm that day and just kind of got away from them. I can definitely see a reversal of that form on the cards, perhaps. Right, TC, short and sweet today. Thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck with your one selection this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Ollie.
Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks as always to Tom Collins. There is scenes currently out on track at the moment. Andrew Cooper has been joined by leading rider Harry Cobden, having a look at the track. He's got his shades on the top of his head. You actually do need shades. It's clear blue skies, but it is frosty, and hence why the covers are down. But having a look at the course there, Richard.
Yeah, it's just the issue going to be when they pull the covers off for the bit that's shaded in front of the grandstand. You can see that out and about it's fine where the sun's getting through, but there is a shaded area. I don't think there's any issues. We don't know of any, but obviously it's a massive task to rip all those covers up.
It really is. It's a hell of a job. There they are, still some on track at the moment, and we spoke to Andrew Cooper, and you know, the scale of the job is something that he was sort of reticent to be overly enthusiastic about, understandably, but lifting it all off is a hell of an effort.
Yeah, it is, and they've found no other way than just pure people power to yank them off, and it's very labour intensive and can be a slow process. Obviously, they're leaving that bit until last as well.
Yeah, absolutely. OK, let's have a look at the 335 now, the Reed Nicky Henderson's Unibet blog handicap hurdle over 2 miles, and we've got joint favourites here currently, Hot Fuss and All In You, Dance and Glance 7-2 on what is a busy afternoon for trainer Anthony Hannibal. He trains Dance and Glance. It's then 11-1 and Bigger the Rest. Let's have a look at Hot Fuss in action for Tom Dascombe and David Bass. And Stu, you quite like the chance of this horse?
Yeah, I do. He ran a tremendous race at last year's Cheltenham Festival. He's tough, he's consistent. This was a really good run here behind Willful and Alexei at Ascot just before Christmas. A repeat of this run on a track that he's won round before. You know, I can see why he's favourite, and he's certainly the one I'd want to be with.
He is joint favourite currently with All In You, who ran a remarkable race last time out, flew home, just missed out.
Yeah, sometimes you get suckered into late speed, but all of the sectionals suggested that it had been quite a big run. Was bought out of the David Maxwell dispersal sale, which hasn't always been great so far. But he put up a promising performance, I thought. I think he'll probably reverse with Dance and Glance. Maybe the uphill finish. The thing for Hot Fuss, because I'd like the horse and I completely share the fact of good form lines, is I wasn't sure he's built to carry 11-11. He's quite small. He's a sort of flat horse that is very versatile. So that was my only concern for him. I'd like slightly less weight, but the form lines are really strong, aren't they? All the Welsh Champion Hurdle, the Alexei, the Celtic Dino. So you can certainly see him. He's got up the hill before.
Yeah. As a rider, when you go out on a smaller horse carrying a lot of weight, is it in your mind?
No.
Is it relative?
No, I don't think so. Look, I'm sure in certain cases there probably are some individuals, but I always felt the most important bit was the level of race that they're in. The fact that he's dropping a grade into this reason is why he's carrying top weight. And if I ever said to Martin Pipe that this little horse got 12.7 and I'm going to try something different on him, he'd have told me to find another job.
Some of Martin's were quite small.
Right, news from Wincanton. 10:15 inspection has happened, and there is going to be a further inspection at 11:30. There is a small area still unraceable, so they are giving it every chance. The first race is 12:27, so it will be a late call. We will update you on our social media channels, because obviously we will be off air here on the opening show with regards to news from Wincanton. 11:30, the next inspection there. OK, time for another breather on the opening show. But when we return, we will discuss the consequences from all the festive action in Ireland and get the state of play on the big divisions with a look ahead to the Cheltenham Festival, which is a couple of months away now. Don't go anywhere. We will have a full review of all the Christmas action when we return.
Proud sponsors of racing on ITV.
Welcome back to the opening show, and we're kicking off the new year today. But what a 2025 it was for that man, Billy Loughnane, who aged just 19 broke the record for most winners in a calendar year this century by riding his 222nd winner of 2025 for George Bowie to round off what was a remarkable campaign. Congratulations to him. And when you look at the jockeys that he's beaten, I think many people already predict that Billy's a future champion jockey, but he's right up there with some of the very best to have graced the sport, the likes of Kieran Fallon, Sheen Murphy, Richard Hughes, Jamie Spencer. 222 winners, that is some going. So congratulations to Billy. That rounded off 2025 on the flat, but there was plenty to round off 2025 over the obstacles, particularly in Ireland, where we saw what was I thought a really enjoyable renewal of the Savills Chase, which was won by Affordale Fury, Richard.
Yeah, sort of a new kid on the block to some degree. Plenty of familiar faces here. I think the thing that made me realise was you've got Galopin de Chon, his return. You've also got Iron Maximus and Grange Clare West. How little there is now between top-class handicappers and the graded performers. I thought they'd be keeping their lights hidden under a bushel until Aintree, to be honest, but they showed up well. Back in the pack, I liked Monty's Star going forward. But it's an open year, Tom, isn't it, when they finish in a heat like this?
Yeah, it certainly is. And you've also got to take into account, I thought Galopin de Champ ran a tremendous race. He's come here on the back of what was a setback before Christmas. He didn't have his usual pre-Leopardstown run at Punchestown and the John Durkin. So I thought it was a real admirable performance. But as we've seen all over Christmas, the Gold Cup picture is wide open.
I think if you throw in all those that finished in line in the King George and that finished there, it's a very, very open year.
It really is. The one horse who was disappointing is I Know the Way You're Thinking, or was disappointing that day in the Savills.
He was. It's a question of whether he suddenly rejuvenates, has been known. But there wasn't any promise in the way that he travelled. He's never been the best jumper anyway. You'll get a better idea with the Dublin Racing Festival as to where you stand with him, probably, I think.
Harry Redknapp's got a lot to look forward to with the Jukebox Man on the back of that excellent King George victory.
One trivia question, we'll give you the answer at the end. What have Affordale Fury and the Jukebox Man, two big winners over Christmas, got in common?
OK, nice. I like a little question.
There you go. We didn't have a quiz question, so I'll just stick one in before the end. You can think of that before the end.
You haven't done a quiz question for a while, have
just
you?
remind me to tell you the answer, though, because otherwise...
Yeah, I know, that's the problem. What about the staying hurdlers? Tiapu got the better of the argument with Ballyburn again.
Yeah, well, it wasn't much of an argument, was it? The way it turned out, because the run before it looked like it was going to be an argument, but on this occasion, Tiapu absolutely bolted up. Bob Ollinger, wonderful Bob Ollinger, back in second, and Ballyburn, he was very disappointing. He looked beaten from an early stage. I'm sure he's better than that, but Tiapu was at his brilliant best on this occasion.
Answered questions about the ground, lots of questions backing up quickly, dominant performance, really. Cabral de Martin struck me as an Aintree hurdle horse. Honesty Policy is an interesting run. He did run very, very well, I thought that. But that was a dominant performance. And Ballyburn's beginning to look a bit like Il est Francais. At times he's got hole for some reason.
Tiapu, 94 favourite for the Paddy Power Stayers hurdle at Cheltenham. Novice division's a really exciting division. We saw Final Demand win over Christmas. Ruby Walsh, who was working on the telly this day, said he wasn't blown away by him. Patrick Mullins said it was plain sailing. What did you make of it?
I'd agree with Ruby, but Ruby added a brilliant caveat, as he always does. Even when a horse isn't at his brilliant best, it's wonderful to see him win. And Final Demand on what was horrible ground around there, he jumped so professionally. And look at the distance. He's, the effortless way he's gone away from them for the last. This is a rattling good horse, and he is one I am so looking forward to seeing going forward. I think he's a wonderful racehorse.
Yeah, he's even money for the Brown Advisory. Now in the Arkle, you've got Lalamba, Kopek de Board, Romeo, Coolio, Carchess. That's some contest that's going to be if they all line
The
up.
interesting one that obviously appears in both is Romeo Coolio. Every year, with the removal of that middle distance novice chase, you have someone who's got to make a decision as to whether to go up and down in trip, and I'm not sure whether it's going to be suited by either as it stands at the moment. He's very impressive until the other day.
Do you think he is in that middle bracket?
Well, I think, yes, I do think he's in that middle bracket. I think they tried 2 miles because they possibly wanted to avoid Final Demand, and he looked, if anything, a 3-miler rather than a 2-mile. Final Demand certainly looks a 3-miler. He dossed around Limerick. I love the way he shortened up for a big horse. I just thought he was OK.
You might want to be backing Romeo Coolio for the Ryanair in 2027, perhaps.
Good choice at Aintree.
Yeah.
Probably, the 2.5 milers, Aintree Hurdle and the novice chasers, there's options elsewhere. I think.
I just want to pick out one other horse that won over Christmas, El Fabiola. He was back over hurdles and back in the winner's enclosure.
Yeah, it was wonderful to see. Look, obviously, he was a high-quality horse back in the day, well, not too distant past, but had his jumping frailties. But every time you see a horse like this get back and do it in the style he did, it was wonderful to see. It was the right opportunity for him, but it was great to see him win. And it was also great to see Spillane's Tower back in third as well.
Yeah, so I went to watch this race and thought, oh, blimey, that JP horse in third's a bit eye-catching. Spillane's Tower. So hardly unexposed. But I'm not sure what the form's worth, but it is great to see them because he'd been the sort of modern-day equivalent of offensive Constitution Hill, hadn't he, in recent starts? Just couldn't get around.
Before I forget, what is the answer to the Affordale Fury Jukebox Man in Common question?
The answer is they both finished second in Albert Bartlett, which is now looking like a really good race that was introduced to Cheltenham. I thought it was going to be for slow plodders when it was first introduced, but we were thinking of Monkfish. Who else have we got? Minella Indo. You know, it's now really proving that Jukebox Man was 33 to 1 that day. It is actually proving a good formative for going on to be a top-class chaser.
I think Allaho ran in it. I might be completely wrong. I will check that, and I'm sure you will let me know if I'm wrong anyway at home. £20 challenge time. What have we gone for today? I revealed mine earlier in the programme. I'm with Jubilee Alpha. At a short price, I think at these terms, she will take a lot of beating. Scoo, you're with one before we come on air, 115.
Yeah, Ball Barley. He was a lot bigger price when I tipped him up. So obviously somebody in the know must know something. But Ball Barley, Joe Tizard said before, been having a good time with things, and I think he's still very competitively handicapped. It's an open race, but I think everything should suit him today.
Yeah, I should point out that mine was Sea Warrior at Wincanton, which still has the potential to run past two.
You can have two.
But my backup one was all in you here, although the price has somewhat gone. But Sea Warrior, I thought, was overpriced. If Wincanton does get the go-ahead.
Yeah, which we will find out at 11:30. Are you optimistic for 2026 in racing? Well, I know we don't have long to answer that, but...
I am. I think it's hard not to be for the week between Christmas and New Year. The challenge is to, I think having a wet Wednesday at Wigan, isn't it? It's that sort of, can you perform on that sort of process? I am. I wish racing would have more flexibility, both in terms of, we heard with invades, etc., and with the fixture list, get more fixtures on between Christmas and New Year. 28th, 29th and 30th aren't great. Scatter them around the country, let everyone enjoy their racing as part of Christmas and take them away from some of those quieter days when we're really just racing for the levy.
Yeah, fingers crossed for a good year. Tom, Richard, thank you very much for joining us this morning for our first YouTube show. Thank you for all your comments on YouTube. If you've got any questions for us on the opening show, put them there. We'll answer them as we go along throughout the course of the year. Just to let you know, there's some EFL football tomorrow. Birmingham against Coventry. It was slightly stalling at the top of the league. Ipswich closing them down. That's at 11:30 on ITV1 and STV. The covers are coming off here at Sandown. Fingers crossed racing goes ahead at Wincanton. If it does, we'll have Sandown and Wincanton for you live from 1:15. We'll see you then.